Okay, call the meeting to order, yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take roll. Today is Monday, April 24th, and the time is 6:35. Victoria Sawicki,
Present?
sorry about that. Riza Yazdi,
Present.
oops, Jeff Ritterman.
Here.
I don't see Jason Woody yet. No Megan. Najari Smith.
Present.
Bernard Watson has resigned. Ellen Seskin here. All right. And we are ready to start.
Okay, great. Agenda review, I don't think there's any changes. Meeting procedures, we are all aware of them and they were on the agenda. Open forum, I don't see anybody. Approval of minutes, unnecessary because they're recorded. City council liaison, not present. Commissioners' reports. Anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I'm just, it's not on the agenda, so can't really say much about it, but I'm thinking maybe we can put it on next month's, but I'm wondering if there's something we can say or do about that journalist that got picked up in Russia.
He's on the agenda.
Oh, he is on the agenda.
Yes, I did put it on. I got your email, so we can talk about it then.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Okay.
And there was also a report about in the news that this guy does from UC Berkeley, Professor Nagler. He's written a bunch of books, and he wrote something up about the death of the last surviving member of a group called the White Rose, and they were a group of college students in Germany who fought the Nazis basically by nonviolent means, and she's the last one to pass away. There's a movie about them, and I just wondered if that's something that you might want to fold into the work with young people.
That's an excellent idea.
What's the movie called?
It's called White Rose, and that was the name of the group, and they all got executed, but this woman got out because she was awaiting execution when the Allies broke her out, and she just died at like 103, and she was the last surviving member, and there was an article about her, so I just happened to read it. I've seen the movie.
Do you have a connection with him? Because maybe he could do a presentation.
I don't know him at all, but I've read his name a lot, and I could try to, give him a call or find out somebody who knows him and see if he could. I forgot if it's Michael Nagler or something. It's Nagler, and he's a professor at UC Berkeley, and he's written a ton of books, and he's a big proponent of nonviolent resistance, and I forgot the name of the center he's head of, but he's a really famous person, and he had written the article about this last surviving member, and that's why his name came up.
Was it in the East Bay Express? I've read an article about this guy too, so.
The article was, I got it in my email, and it's like something, I think it's called the Metta Center, METTA. I think it's a nonviolence center. And I'll look for it in my email, and I'll send it to you, and you could send it around.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else, Jeff?
Well, I'm disgusted with what's happening in Israel, but that's another issue. And I got a recent video about it, and I'm not sure what we can do about it, but this whole movement to the right there and trying to take. The Prime Minister controls the Congress, the Knesset, and controls something else too. And the last check on his power is the judiciary. And he's trying to take over the judiciary, which is interesting because he's also being, he's got charges against him for some bribery and things like that. So if he takes over the judiciary, it's going to be a total autocracy there. It's going to be a total dictatorship, and there are demonstrations there every day of, tens of thousands of people.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of.
One of them was like 500,000 people.
And so they're asking people, abroad to, contact their Congress people and, so on. The Jewish lobbying organizations and, to do something about it. It's and there's been a lot of attacks on Palestinians. There was a big attack on unarmed Palestinians who were, I think it was still Ramadan, and they were in the Temple Mount. There've been a couple of those, and every time there's a demonstration, the Prime Minister Netanyahu responds by putting somebody more right-wing in one of the, his ministries and everything. So, and the government there is now a mixture of, kind of right-wing secular Jews and very religious Jews, and they're going to make it, where women are going to have to ride in the back of the bus. I mean, they're really coming down on, all kinds of human rights and civil rights for, and Jewish people like me used to be were encouraged to make what's called aliyah, where you could go there and you could establish yourself in the country. They're making it impossible for people like me to do that because we're too liberal. So it's a real change in, in the way things are. Did I send you that video?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a video from somebody about it, and it's kind of horrifying what's going on. I'm not sure, how much we can do about it. The last time I supported Palestinian rights when I was on the city council with that flotilla that was bringing, medical supplies. I got viciously attacked by, my daughter's rabbi, people, a lot of people in the Jewish community in Richmond, not to mention members of my own family.
Here in Richmond you were attacked?
What's that?
In Richmond you were attacked?
Yeah, well, not physically attacked.
Oh, okay.
But just, my Palestinian friends like Z and JJ were like, very much supportive. But, and that was a flotilla bringing medical supplies to Gaza.
Yeah.
This wasn't guns, right? This was, but that's a different issue. That was in the past. So I know that if you know, if we do something to support this, there's going to be pushback. But, you know, I think it's worth seeing what we could do. Maybe it's worth talking to, there is at least one Jewish synagogue in Richmond. I don't know if, you know, we could, if there would be any interest by the rabbi there in, you know, in talking, you know, talking to us about this situation. It's very, it's always very touchy to deal with this. I can tell you, it's touchy in my own family, you know. But I'll send, I just got this amazing video about it, and I'll send it to you and you can pass it around. And
Do you know where the video came from?
Yeah, it came from Israel. It came from, I got it with a warning on it. And it came from my ex-sister-in-law who got it from one of her best friends in Israel, who's, you know, part, you know, asking for people to, you know, support the, you know, the protests and the demonstrations, and, you know, talking about, you know, all the downside of, you know, this kind of right-wing government,
Right.
you know.
It's really an attack against democratic rights.
Yeah.
It's like the, Jerry?
There's also something
Yes.
going on here in San Lucas, in Monterey County. It's a small farming community.
I did have my hand up,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to
I
make
called
sure
on
that
I called on Najari.
Oh, we know about that?
No,
No.
Najari, then you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Go for it.
and I'm Najari. How you doing, Ellen? It was some things that I just wanted to bring up. Like I wanted to revisit where we landed on remote meetings. And I know we talked about them at the last meeting.
That's on the
That's on the
agenda.
agenda.
It is on the agenda?
Yeah.
What am I
Hybrid
not
meeting.
seeing?
Look under I, discussion items,
Yeah, hybrid.
hybrid meeting, L3. Is that L? I'm sorry, L. It's under commission, it's like commission reports, that's where we are now, chairs reports, staff reports, discussion
Okay,
items.
hybrid HR,
okay.
Yeah.
HRC meetings. Thanks. And can we talk about how we make changes to the agenda?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd like to go back over that. We start a meeting, something comes up, we're doing an agenda review. How do you propose things to add?
Okay, number one, if we're gonna add something to the agenda, it has to be posted to the public,
Yeah.
and it has to be, that's why I always have a deadline. The deadline, we try to get it by Wednesday or Thursday, but this past week it was Friday. And so you send it to me, and then I send it to Sharice. But usually I try to get the agenda items by Wednesday, the prior date, and then I figure out an order, and then I type it up and I send it to Sharice. Sharice asks me gives it back to me for review, and then it goes to Richard, our KTRCV or whatever, the TV guy, tech guy, and he posts it publicly. It has to be posted. That's,
Okay.
so I'm sorry, does everybody, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that, in addition to it being posted on the web, I post a hard copy out here in front of the building 440 in the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
And it has to be posted by 5 o'clock. So
Got it.
every on the web and the hard copy post has to be posted at 5 o'clock on Friday, the Friday before
Yeah.
our Monday meeting.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can't have a meeting.
It has to be posted by 5,
Mhm.
On Friday before the
5
meeting.
p.m. 5 p.m. Friday.
Mhm.
Got it.
And we try to get it to the staff as early as possible, because staff has got other things to do besides
Right.
HRC, and, yeah.
There were a number of things that came up to me like while over this weekend when I was thinking about today's meeting. that I want to make sure are added to the agenda for this upcoming meeting. I don't know if can I briefly talk about those now?
Sure you can.
So one was, I wanted to ensure that city services are fully accessible to all members of our Richmond community. I've been finding things like the bike lockers right here at City Hall. There's the ones right next to the city council chambers. None of those work. Additionally, once upon a time, I used to use the bike link cards, and I recently gave somebody a card and they could not activate it. 30 minutes into calling to talk to, somebody on how to use this thing, it went through all the prompts, and then it hung up on them. They did this twice. So it's like, it doesn't say explicitly that the bike link cards don't work, but they don't work. And you have to use a phone and use the app in order to do it, which creates a whole nother obstacle. And that's the case with a lot of services that require that you use an app. If you're not tech savvy and have the right equipment, then you're not going to be able to use these things. And there's an ableist aspect to that. There's definitely things around having access to resources when these are supposed to be helping people who don't have all of those resources. So I think that we should look into those services and make sure that they're serving the community in the best way.
And would you be interested in, like, figuring out how we could possibly make this public so that people know that, because I had a friend who was stranded. He's 78, had a number of strokes. He doesn't have a cell phone.
Okay.
He had a regular flip-flop thing, and he walked home to use his landline to call me. And then he tried to call the insurance, and they said, you have to download an app, which he didn't. And so then I said, just give me your number, give me your information. So then I just went to the song and dance with this person. I said, my friend really needs help. It's dark, he's afraid, blah, blah, blah. And it was stressing him out. I think you were his doctor, but I won't mention. But anyways, but you're right, there's many services that aren't accessible to certain segments of the population if you're not tech savvy, don't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So that's and I'd like to make it, like, if we could get an East Bay article that this is an issue.
I'd like to, bring it up to see, like I just told you, I told the commission about it. You brought up that experience, and I'm sure it's not the only, it's not an isolated thing.
Yeah.
It's one other thing. As a commission, can we look into what services are available, like anything that's specifically for Black people, for the Black population? I like to look at things like the decrease in population among African Americans, as well as the disproportionate levels of homelessness, and how cities' past history have promoted that, and what things can be done to reverse that trend.
What a great idea. Another how people of color have been, how do they put it? Proportionately have an adverse reaction, or living in Richmond due to the disproportionate adverse effect on them being exposed to chemicals from people of color, mainly that have Chevron and all these chemical factors. I mean, we're all exposed.
We're all exposed, but
it's for some. I actually, Dr. Ritterman gave I don't know if you were at the presentation about medical racism.
Yeah, that was a really good.
That was a really good, and so it's like, you're poor. I think you had your friend who was or somebody, African-American friend, had to get all dressed up to go to the emergency because she'd look poor and they treat her like poor and black, and something like that. Or else
Yes, for sickle cell.
Right,
If you had, because you have sickle cell and you have a crisis and you need pain med,
that's it.
so you get all dressed up because they're gonna think you're just trying to game the system for pain med, you
Yeah.
know, and so you get dressed up to, you know, make them be aware that, you know, you're really not gaming the system.
Yeah, you shouldn't be judged because you just have, you know, more melanin, right? Like that shouldn't be a...
Well, when they do a survey of medical students and doctors, they think that black people have thicker skin and don't feel pain as much.
There were medical reports supporting that you know, that obscene theory too. Am I wrong?
I'm sorry?
Aren't there like medical reports where they like speak to that as if it's true?
Oh yeah, they totally. If a black kid gets a long bone fracture,
Mm-hmm.
they don't give him as much pain medicine as if a white kid does.
So,
Yeah, I have a whole presentation.
It makes me
on
feel
that.
like there needs to be like advocates for black folks
yeah,
who are going through these, you know, this probably is not, I don't think it's even just isolated to medicine, you know.
Oh, no.
I mean, we know
No.
that there's issues around profiling, harassment, redlining is a thing,
we
which is
could have category, like, if somebody could come up with a survey, there might be some students that would be interested in this, to do a survey in Richmond.
this is something that I'd be excited to take on.
Yeah, yeah, and then you could have like questions regarding medicine, questions why driving a black, questions why, you know, all these different aspects.
Even things around just feeling safe to go into, you know, visit the park, walk down the block, you know, and
Yeah.
looking at like
It's bad.
right down to how the sidewalk conditions in different areas, right? How wide is the sidewalk? Is it blocked? Is it even? How are the lights in different areas? We like really giving this an equity lens is what I.
Megan alluded to that in one of her presentations and
Mm.
reports regarding, there was construction going on along a certain street. And,
Rumhill.
to say,
Rumhill,
Rumhill.
yeah.
And it got a lot of attention, you know, after her letter and
Mhm.
complaint, it got a lot of attention.
Good.
Because, you know, she went into great detail, being a disabled person,
Yeah.
what they're going through, just walking down the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was very, people listened, let me say that. She got people's attention.
That's good to know.
The right people's attention,
That's
meaning the public works director, meaning the city manager, meaning the city attorney,
Right.
and so forth.
Yeah, we have to deal with this. I have to deal with them. Yeah, but you know, Chris and I went out and we walked. Here's like Rumhill, let's say. Okay, and there's all this construction here, and literally, if you lived over here, to go to a friend over here, you would have. You couldn't cross the street. You'd have to go all the way down. And I mean, it was ridiculous. It was really, really outrageous.
But that one letter,
Mm.
See, there's
had,
that. Yeah.
it was very profound.
Okay.
Very.
I think, did you talk to Megan? Because I think Megan did really, she did, yeah. Because that was, yeah, okay. Excellent.
But what I wanted to bring to your attention when you said about, you had some concerns about city services and accessibility to the community.
Mhm.
Our council liaison is Mr. Melvin
Melvin
Willis.
Willis.
Okay.
Right. And he is the person that you should contact. Not that it shouldn't be on the agenda or agendized.
Yeah.
I'm just saying your concerns should definitely go to him
All right.
in addition to the agenda.
Yeah, he's our liaison, right?
Yes,
That's a great, thank you.
Is there a person in the staff
yes.
who should be getting those complaints?
I send the HRC agenda to his staff person and to him,
Melvin.
Melvin,
Well, that's good.
every month.
But I have a question. Back to the request, putting this in the agenda. I believe we should hear what services are available, and after we get that report, based on that report, we can have something on the agenda. These services are not available to people, or they are discriminatively basically available to some not. And then, as an agenda item, to make a decision of why these are not available, and basically object and have the city council or the mayor or city manager to do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just putting something in an agenda that we don't know what the situation is not going to help us, like for the next week. But we should get some report from Melbourne about those services, or the stuff that you basically think is not available, because you probably have something in your mind. There are some services which is not available to African Americans, right? It's not available to Latinos. It's not available to colored people. And why not? And then based on that, we can make that one an agenda item.
I like that idea of getting that report.
Yeah.
Okay, so the correct method to get the information
Yes.
is you make a public service request through the city clerk. It's on the city clerk's website.
Yeah.
If you just go to the city clerk, and it's a public information request.
Okay.
And you make your, you fill out what you want I want information on A, B, C, and D. And so she then filters that request. It's a formal request. She filters that request to the appropriate office, department,
Okay.
to provide her answers to your questions. So you receive a formal reply back.
Thank you.
So it just doesn't go
Yeah.
like this. It's recorded
Yeah.
and
Starting
And
a paper
you know
trail.
what?
Yes.
One other thing we should consider when we ask for these services, there are some good model cities that they provide some good services. If we get those model cities and look at the type of services they offer, and then compare with what Richmond doesn't offer, we can say, yeah, this is what they do, like in Berkeley, and why not here? This is what they do, like in Chicago, and why not here? That comparison gives us a good understanding of what can be done in these areas, which we don't do it here, although it should be done.
I'm also interested in knowing, for any, service A, what are the demographics of the folks that are using that service? Because that informs us of a lot. And what can we do to make sure that that's more diverse?
Excellent. Jeff has had his hand up, and then I'll
Oh,
jump
sorry.
in after Jeff. No, that's okay. Shoot.
Well, I'm just, Melvin hasn't come to any of our meetings. I assume he knows he's supposed to, right?
He knows because
Mr. Jeff, I don't know what he knows or not knows. I know he receives this agenda every month.
I talked to Roman last week. I know he was up in Sacramento today. They had a protest with ACE up at the Capitol this morning.
Well, that's good. What was the protest about?
Doing something good.
Yeah, they're lobbying for a housing bill.
The what bill?
Lobbying for a housing bill.
Yeah, so I guess the question is he, does he want to be our liaison, or,
I
They don't talk.
We got somebody right here, we can hook his wife in.
I will reach out to Melvin, and but I think it wasn't January, we were still supposed to have, Anna, your wife, in January, and
They
so.
switch.
They switched, so February, I was told he was sick.
Mhm.
So he missed March, and then today he's in Sacramento, so I don't think I will reach out to Melvin.
You know, I mean, we can use help, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
They switched the Sohera because Sohera was a member of actually the Park and Creation Committee, and she's now a liaison for that commission.
which one?
Park.
Rex
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, she was a member of that commission.
Well, that's
Now she's a
important.
city-
Every one of them is
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we could use, you know, just tell them we miss them, and we could use help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make them, Jen.
I wanted to say, like, whenever there's an item on the agenda, it's a discussion item. It's not like, well, let's have a discussion about the man in the moon. No. When you suggest an item, I hope you would bring documents, you know, like you could, if you send this letter, I'm thinking, if you sent a letter to the city clerk, a formal letter requesting this information, would it be,
It's not a letter, it's
Oh.
actually if you go to the website, it's called a public information
request?
request.
Okay,
It's a database
Okay.
type system.
wow.
And all he needs to do is, you know, put in his date, name, and the information that he's requesting.
That's
It
great.
actually goes through a system, a real system, and the city clerk determines or finds out who is the appropriate staff person to provide this information, and there is a timeline.
Wow.
You have so many days to reply.
So if Najari puts the request in by the end of the week, do you think we will have it for the next month? That's great. And then, you know, I don't know if you want to work with anybody on, like, have a small committee and like figure out what you want to request in addition to everything that's been mentioned so far, and maybe other stuff that we haven't thought of yet. So that we have a, you know, we could just start with what we've got, because what you suggested already is quite a bit. And it seems like, and so if you have somebody you know you'd like to bring to speak on that discussion item, we could have that. We could have whatever, it's wide open. You know somebody that's doing some kind of study in university, and this is their thing. They've already done some study, and they have some kind of presentation. How do we do a presentation in here? That's a separate question, but you know, it's whatever, however you want that discussion to go is kind of up to the person that has a discussion item. So it's you know, I think like you might want to have your own, like what you think this project might be, or what this, and then you might want to say, I've already submitted the request, and this is what I've got back. And then you might want to offer some suggestions that we could bounce off of, like we could do this, this, or this, and then we could have a discussion based on kind of an outline, so we know we have some kind of, like we're going in some kind of direction, and then you know, contact people we want to contact. What's our goal? What's our ultimate goal? That would be something like that you'd want to like define, and like ultimately to expand the services so that it's accessible to everybody. Equity, you said the word equity, I love that. Equity question here. So I don't know if that helps, but.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
What I would say is that I'm fine with making the initial request. As it becomes more complicated and you have to dig through some of the data, then I'm gonna be reaching.
I believe we should start from something simple,
Mhm.
doable, achievable, and then expand it. You know, because if you start from a big thing, you never reach to do anything. You don't make it complicated. Just the one or two services that you're really concerned about. Ask about those services. Are these services available? What's the information and data about it? You know, what's the proportion use of that service? You know, how do you basically distribute that service? You know, based on the gender and basically race or whatever. I think you should make it simple because by my experience, working 25 years for government, and I know what you're talking about, this is a legal request. When you ask for public information, it's a legal request and they actually have to give it back to you. But if you make it complicated, they may not be able to provide those services because it's very complicated, or they may say we don't have such a thing. Then they actually have to initiate the work group to work on that set of basically data provided to you, categorizing it. It's not that simple to do those things. But the 1 or 2 requests specific, then they can come up with something, give it to you, and then we can discuss it here and come up with some real agenda item to improve, right? Because we want to improve something. When we want to improve something, it has to be something achievable or under our jurisdiction and the power. Otherwise, it's just informational, right?
I just wanna, we wrote a little letter that had a lot of impact. And so even if we write, like we have this formal information request, and then we decide, and maybe we wanna just, personally, okay, I'm not an incrementalist. I don't like to do, I feel like people of color have, it's enough already. It's like, I don't want to stretch this out another year or two. They could do the bloody bike bank thing, they maybe don't even know. Who knows? They must know, right? But that they don't work. But that might be a super, but I'm sure that if you chatted it up with your friends, and just find out what's really, like my friend doesn't have a cell phone. He was like, and I didn't answer the first call that he in distress because I was on a Zoom. So I told him from now on I will answer I don't care where I am, what I'm doing, I'm going to answer your phone. But you know what I'm saying? These are, in a way, life and death issues. The bike, that's sort of, so we could write just a simple letter, like Megan, and raise maybe 2 or 3 issues, but I'm not personally going to shy away from a big issue. That's kind of, I understand where I know we want success. I do know that.
But I'm hearing the letter had a big impact.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
It did. It had a huge impact.
I'm sure I had to talk to the lawyer and then I talked to another lawyer.
Some letters actually does a lot of the impact. Like in case of these cell phones you're talking about, I think if somebody writes a letter to the Public Utility Commission in California, they actually have to face this issue because there are thousands of people, they don't have smartphones, and all these services legally, by law, should be available to these people. And you cannot say, we changed. When I was in actually public utility, we forced the 911 to change their system to provide services to the smartphones, but not to disconnect from the landline, because the assumption is not everybody has a cell phone, right? But there are people, they only have cell phones, and 911 service, the requirement is this is actually a public safety and everyone has to have access to it to be able to use it. If you don't have a landline and you have a cell phone, you should be able to do it, and they should be locate your location, because this is the 911 is the location, right? The landline was actually specifically point to this room, they could come and basically help you. But you have a cell phone, there was a time you could not locate the cell phone because they had no GPS in it, but they could use a triangle or basically the thing to find it. And we forced them to do that because all the cell phone companies, they actually had to provide these services to 911 before even the 911 get updated system. I think these type of things with one letter and make it basically pretty like the risky situation. someone is gonna die, right?
Exactly.
And that's how I used to get the basic funding from the state and get positions. All the, we just put something. There is a risk of a person to die if I don't get this money. And everybody goes to that line and says, what the hell? And I cannot just say no. Because if somebody dies and I don't give basically this funding to this guy, he may come after me and says, 2 years ago I request for this basically funding for this service, and there was a line here, someone will die if you don't give me this money, and now I'm on the hook, right?
Wasn't there a building that
Something
housed
pretty,
people in Richmond, and a woman on the top floor was sick and dying, and the elevator did not work, and she died?
The building is right down the street on Nevin.
Right,
It's
right.
a public housing.
Public housing
Housing
elevator
authority
didn't work, and
building.
she did die.
Yeah.
She did
Yeah.
die.
Because the elevator, the maintenance on the elevator was neglect.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it had been neglectful for years. But because it's a population of,
Low income
lower
people.
income
Yeah.
people, and it depends on who's making the loudest chatter and who they're
Exactly.
chattering to get the message across. Once the fire department was involved and the fire chief was involved, things changed.
Yeah, because they had to go up those stairs, and they didn't get
I
to it.
did, yeah.
And they check the records. The records are supposed to be kept. The maintenance records are supposed to be kept right by the elevator, accessible.
Yeah, exactly. They put
And
actually.
he can,
Yeah.
the fire department personnel can pull those records and see that no one has checked this elevator in so many years, or months, or whatever
It was a
the
long time, yeah.
frame is.
And I felt sorry,
But that was a real issue.
Yeah.
Or they had to carry someone down 8 flights
Mhm.
Oh, God.
because neither one of the elevators were operable. But had no one known, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
do.
had the fire department not been called,
Yeah, yeah,
but not everyone knows to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tragedy. Jeff?
When I was on city council, we had somebody working with us, like an intern. I think I had David Gray. He was amazing. Does Melvin have somebody he could send to the meeting? So we,
You would have to ask him.
what?
You would have to ask him, Mr.
Because, it could take some heat off him, and he could just send an assistant, and, they could work with us, and, because when you're on the council, you're supposed to know sewage and, everything under the sun. And I can understand if it's too much, but if you have an assistant, you can send the assistant to these meetings, and they can take the notes and they can work with us. And so, who would be the right? You want to ask him?
I'll ask him when I send him the email.
Because that would work.
I-
And the guy I had was better than me. He was amazing.
Yeah, I think Melvin just hasn't got it. I really was happy that he's our liaison, and he's a people person. He knocks on doors, and he's really down to earth and in with the people. So I think I'll send that email out.
He is a community organizer, and he's, very involved in housing issues. That much I know,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we had to make reports to him.
yeah.
So, he was very concerned.
I'm glad somebody's interested in housing, because it's a desperate situation. Najari, is there anything else?
No.
Okay, it's cool.
Najari, I'll send you some links to the county regarding the homeless population and some data about that.
Thank you.
The county keeps the records regarding the homeless population in every jurisdiction for Contra Costa County.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see the statistics by race, age, gender, and so forth.
Might be worthwhile to
They do a
get,
homeless count, I believe, every 5 years, and we
Okay.
just had one completed.
Oh, all right.
But that's a good one.
Within the last couple of years, like 2 years, within a 2-year, I want to say maybe it was completed in 2021 or something like that.
That's
That's
That's,
fairly
I believe
recent.
that's the most recent.
we're probably up at double now.
do you know Daniel Barth and SOS?
I do.
You know, that's a good source, and I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Okay.
I've worked with him a little.
Chris Brolio is still working with SOS. He met Daniel when Daniel gave a presentation last year. And he goes out and he's working with the homeless right now. He's still,
Who's that?
Chris Brolio.
Yeah, and doing the showers and the
Yeah.
towels and,
He's out there pretty regularly, I guess, once a week or maybe more. Okay. Raisa, do you have
No.
something? Jason?
Yes, I know we talked briefly about doing some kind of billboard campaign at the last meeting. Didn't know how to send it, so I sent an email to everybody. But I just kind of threw up a little mock-up of what I kind of envisioned. Let me see if I can find it here. Our initial conversation was about the banning of books, which has happened in some other places. So I put together this little guy, and you just pass it around. But I don't know. I just wanted something where, you know, it kind of showed who we are as a city. How do I put it? Sorry. Richmond is where knowledge has freedom to thrive. So that's what it says, and there's a whole. You can pass it around.
These are all banned books,
Yeah.
and I've read them all.
You know.
I've definitely read them like some.
Right, but I wanted us to kind of get the word out that Richmond was like a safe place for education. So yeah, I don't know if anyone had any additional contributions, but I would like to see us kind of put a small campaign together.
I really, really like that.
are you the artist?
I mean, I just kind of threw it together. I'm not really an artist, but I do have ideas.
Did you want to buy some of the books, more of the books for the kids to have, or?
Well, I know, well, we had discussed at our last meeting, just potentially getting the city to invest in a campaign to publicly support education, essentially. So I did that one. I think there's another one. I emailed it to everybody, so it should be in your email. But I did another one that's just like Richmond is a place where communities thrive together. And I took a photo from last weekend with the fence line project up on Richmond Parkway. Just a bunch of people coming together to make their voices heard artistically. It's actually on display over here at the Arts Center. We'll be having another, I think Family Day is this Saturday. But yeah, I just, wanted to, I don't know why this one won't pull up.
I like your idea. Sharice has something she wanted to add to it.
I think you should contact the Richmond librarian and
Okay.
arrange a meeting with her to go over the campaign that you're thinking about. She would be the key person to get this going.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What about the library commission? There's a library commission. Well, if you could, I have decided I'm not gonna buy any more books, and I use the library. So if maybe you could contact the library commission,
For Richmond?
and for Richmond,
I didn't know that.
and the librarian, I met her once.
Okay.
And, and then bring something, I'll put it on the agenda, Jason, and anything you have, like any kind of documents, if you get anything, and they might have something written up, or they might know of something in another library or another city that they're, and then you send it to me, and then I'll send it to Cherise. And the thing is, we try to get as much of the stuff together by Wednesday. So the Wednesday prior, because she's a very busy person, and I don't like waiting till the last minute. And, and she doesn't either, I'm sure. So it just makes it easier all around, so, but I love your idea. If we could get one, that's kind of a small, we'd have to find a place, where's this billboard that is just out there, but there's nothing, or maybe on the thing right out there.
Yeah, it'd be great, like, even if we put it up
Right
here.
by the library, that would be cool.
But I mean, she may have funds in her budget for something like that,
Okay.
but no one has stepped forward with an idea
What
or
a
a
great
presentation
idea.
or a mock-up to say,
Yeah,
hey, this is what the HRC was thinking about.
yes,
Why don't we join commissions together
yeah,
to promote this?
yeah.
What do you think, librarian?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
She
maybe
really
she
may
would.
have it in her
She-
budget to do it.
Yeah, and she wants people to go to the library, right?
Exactly.
That's really, and then we'd be saying, we've got a political statement, we're against banning books, we want people to read, we want, et cetera. Great.
Or Councilmember Willis may have it in his budget
Okay.
but you would need to go through the proper channel, meaning the library commission and the librarian.
Okay. I'll
It
definitely
can't
reach out
just
to them.
be your body,
Exactly. Excellent.
because it affects her directly.
Oh, we wouldn't want
Well, we definitely want to promote reading as well, so I.
Yeah. We'd hate for that to be up there and she goes, who did that, why did they include me? Oh, she's gonna wanna be involved, I'm
For sure.
Okay,
I'm
Ellen?
looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So, okay, I'm gonna put it on the agenda next month, so, and I'll probably call you to see how it's going, okay.
So I read in the paper this morning that there's a community, San Lucas, I think it is, in California, in Monterey County, that they do farming there. And apparently 11 or 12 years ago, one of the farmers used a fertilizer with a lot of nitrates in it. But he was right above the well or something, so it all leached into the well that was feeding the town. So the town has not been able to use well water. They're told that they can use it for bathing and for washing clothes, but they get rashes if they use it for bathing, and the clothes get stained if they use it for the clothes. So they go twice a week and they pick up these giant things of water, so they will have drinking water and they can take baths in this cold water. And sometimes they'll go down to the truck stop and take their showers there. This has been going on for 11 years. And they just can't get their act together to decide who's gonna do what about it. And they did have a plan to build a pipe from Visalia or something, and then they said, oh no, that's not gonna work. And that was the end of it.
Where is this happening at?
San Lucas, I think.
Yep.
In Versailles, right, Visalia?
And you found it?
I just read about that too, that
It's
they.
disgusting. I mean, these are people, they're growing our crops,
Yeah.
and they can't even drink water?
Yeah, it's like our Flint, Michigan, here in our own backyard. Wow. Maybe, okay, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Oh, wow.
I can pass this around.
But you know what I was thinking? Why don't we write a letter, and maybe you could formulate the letter and put it on the agenda. Based like, this has been going on 11 years, and they deserve better, and this has got to stop, but in your nice terms. And just say we're the Human Rights Commission of Richmond, and when we heard one of our commissioners brought it to our attention, and this is unacceptable, send it to the city council, the mayor, and there must be some group that's fighting this, and a copy of that group. But you come up with it next month, we'll send it off.
Okay.
This is, so I'm still upset about Flint, Michigan. I'm from Detroit, and I've been to Michigan, I have friends. Those kids are damaged for life, So don't get me started.
Did you guys heard about this, the dust coming from the refinery in Martinez?
Okay.
No?
Sohail actually sent an email to everyone. There was actually the release of
Email.
dust
Mm.
coming from the Martinez refinery, which covers, that was like 2 days.
I
A
heard
lot
about
of
that.
kind of different metals,
Wow.
which is toxic, and it was all over, and nobody talked about it. There was the paper in the San Francisco Chronicle, which shows the map and the affected area. And interestingly, the San Pablo Dam has been part of that affected area. So I will actually follow up with the EBMOD. Did you guys basically test the water? They said, no, we usually test them once a year, and we have not been informed by the refinery. And she said, okay, what the hell is going on? You know, refinery does that. 2 days of dust all over, these metal, basically heavy metals, and it's all over, and nobody knows. You do not report to city, you don't basically talk to EBMOD. EBMOD doesn't know anything about it.
This year.
Yeah, Joya was basically involved. It's crazy, basically, you know, these things have been spread all over.
If you want to write a
And
letter, this is.
They actually, they said something, you know, if you have vegetables in your garden or whatever, please do not eat those things.
Is that for Richmond? Or is that?
Yeah, that was for the entire Contra Costa. Yeah. And I said, what the hell, you know, after weeks, now you're telling us if you have vegetables in your garden, don't we already have, you know, eaten all of those vegetables. And the water here in the dam, you know,
Yeah.
this is actually our drinking water and has been exposed, you know.
Well, the fact that they only test once a year is unacceptable.
Once a year, and
So can we request that there's water testing?
yeah, we should actually have the protocol in place. If some of these basic stuff get released into the, you know, into nature, atmosphere, they actually have to report it.
Yeah.
EBMOD has to follow up with that report and see, you know, what is the contamination, what is the risk of these contamination for people, and what can we do, you know, and inform people. There are a lot of people that they may basically die, you know, they drinking those water if they're close to the center of that contamination. There are kids, and these are actually toxic materials, and they are causing cancer, and it's in the report. But nobody in the city council knew about it. Nobody in the county basically, either if they know about it or they did basically disregard it. And when Sohaila brought it up, you know, everybody said, "Oh, it's okay." You know, I said, "No, this is not okay. This is dangerous." And she followed up with it, and now they're waiting for the county people and EBMOD to come up with some
Send the
report.
results of the water.
Yeah,
They should test the water
Yeah,
immediately.
they should immediately test the water.
And like you said, set protocol, that if there is a spill or a fire or whatever, that Chevron is supposed to let us know, and they never do.
Yeah,
They
Chevron
never-
doesn't, yeah.
The warning, they're supposedly, the protocol is there, it's set in place, and they don't. They really, but we need to.
Yeah, when
demand-
I was in the,
we
I
need
used to
ask.
work for the public health department too, 15 years in public health, here in the Marina. And we used to be in the Berkeley, and then we came to Marina. And we forced Richmond, the Chevron, when there is a basic leak, you have to inform everybody. And you have to basically use the siren if the contamination goes on some level, because there are people, they actually have to basically lock themselves inside the houses,
Right.
you know.
Right,
But they don't do these things, you know. And because the city is so easy on them, they used to fine them $5,000. Used to be $500 and then change it to $5,000 for these people when they, send something in the atmosphere, and if you get it, you fine them $5,000. And for these people to upgrade their system, which costs them millions of dollars, They just say, oh, I don't care, you know, I just pay the fine, you know, $5,000 is nothing for Richmond. It's like, you know, you see these like trucks park in the middle of the street, block the entire road, and if somebody comes, they're willing to pay the fine, right?
Right.
Mhm.
That's what they do. The refinery is here, and something has to be done about these refineries, because these guys are here, you know, making everybody basically suffer.
So the air board is responsible for the air. Who's responsible for the water?
East Bay Mud.
East Bay Mall.
EV
Yeah, East Bay Mall, yeah.
Okay.
But when they had the particulate matter flying and all this dust, we should have been notified at that point that it was out there, we're breathing it in. And then two, when it settles in water and on our vegetables, and everyone should have been notified. There should be
Yeah,
some.
everybody has been notified.
We have the right, first of all, nobody asked us for them to pollute our bodies. You know, we didn't ask for this stuff to be inside our bodies, but, you know, it's unfortunate we have to ask them to tell us when we've been contaminated, whether we breathe it in, and like you said, something really needs to be done. In Europe, they have the precautionary principle, which would be nice if Richmond City Council could adopt a precautionary principle that says, basically, no business, no company, no corporation can put anything in the environment that's not healthy for human beings, all beings. We have 85,000, I think, chemicals, toxic chemicals, and we have to, in this country, we have to prove it kills us. Like with DDT and asbestos and lead, then they said, okay, now we need to get rid of it. But over there, they're not allowed to even produce anything. And I was working with somebody from the EPA, and I went to one of his meetings with all kind of big shots and management and chemists, and they actually said if our companies export to France, they take out the chemicals. It was PBDEs. PBDEs, it's a flame retardant. And they take it out when they export it to Europe, but we get to keep it. We keep it for the American people, and it's different standard. But it's the people that pass the precautionary principle, and it's the people. It's going to come from I don't know how it's going to change, but anyway, so. Okay, we've had a very full discussion, 7:38, and we haven't even started on the discussion items. Okay, I don't really have a chair's report other than, you know, I just want to give a little update. Postal Service is hobbling along. We still have DeJoy there, a Trump appointee, and the post office used to be 92% favored by the American people. It's now reduced to 71% because my carrier here in Richmond works 2 8-hour shifts, 16 hours a day. This is rampant. It's better now, but over Christmas and last year, there's shortage of employees. There's a shortage everywhere, a shortage of doctors, nurses, Richmond employee everywhere. But so I'm still trying to save the post office, trying to have a thriving post office. We want electric charging stations at all the post offices. I hear that he's free for the people. We want free Wi-Fi inside. What he's doing is he's creating Amazon-like huge buildings. They're called S&DCs, service and delivery centers, where they're saying there's one in Atlanta, Georgia, and here's the hub. And all these little towns around has their own little post office. Now, all of them and all the carriers have to come to the hub and be in one of these gigantic buildings, which takes 20 minutes to go to the bathroom. They're huge, and they're not good. And so it's a real struggle. I'm hearing all kinds of complaints about late delivery and no delivery, and but some of us in this country, there's now going to be a protest in Minneapolis. Clerks harassment is off the charts, and so their clerks are going to, on May Day, they're having a huge rally, and they're inviting other unions. There's going to be a lot of people there. Their congressmen in Portland, they've had their congressmen. There's a lot of people in Portland, and Washington DC, rural letter carriers were also doing a lot of stuff. So anyways, there's some kind of action, people are being mobilized from the bottom because they can't take it anymore. So that's my report. Not a good report, but, okay, discussion items. Well, I am going to show you something. This is something you all should have. And this is something, I don't want to burden you. I don't know if there's any more of these. Everett put this together.
What is it?
I can't see
It's
it.
it's a Human Rights and Human Relations Commission with all kinds of stuff in it. It has our bylaws in it, a code of ethics, has legislative information, Rosenberg's Rules of Order, which is what we're supposed to go by, open public, it's like the Brown Act, the section of the Brown Act, guidelines for effective human relations commission. Everett was our lawyer before, who I really liked. I really liked Everett. Anyways, I brought it here because actually Cordell, some of you may know Cordell. He emails me often and he said, you're supposed to have an election. I go, oh my God, you're right, Cordell. We were supposed to have in October. I love Cordell. And he used to come to every single meeting when we were in person. I've invited him and
I see him in Kaleidoscope all the time.
so do I, yeah. So anyways, in October, we were supposed to have an election committee. They were supposed to make recommendations. We were supposed to vote in November, and the new chairperson and vice chair was supposed to take over in January. It is now April. And I was gonna call, I don't know, if we should have, we didn't really, I did agendize it. I'm not sure what we should do at this point. I mean, what do you think? And this is one thing that we need, but have you ordered any of the cards?
I haven't ordered any cards.
Okay. How many names do you have of the people that gave you the information?
I believe I have everyone now.
Okay. I feel it's important so that when Najari and Jason go talk to their people and they have a card, here, this is my card, it makes it more legitimate, maybe, I don't know. I've never had a card until now, but it's nice because then you don't have to write your telephone number on a piece of paper. And I just, so that's that.
If you could share this with me, I'll
You can
show it
take it,
to my
yeah.
director
Okay,
and we could have it printed downstairs.
perfect. And then next meeting, we can pass them out, excellent. So on the election, I mean, what do you guys think?
We can do it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I will entertain nominations for president.
You want to do chair or vice chair first?
Let's do chair. Let's do chair.
Well, are you interested in doing it again?
I wouldn't mind, and
Well, I would nominate you.
Yeah.
I would second
I
that.
second that too.
okay, thank you,
You got everybody's right.
thank you. Thank you, Jay. Everyone's shaking
Is
their head.
everybody good with
Yeah,
that?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I really appreciate that. It means a lot.
So we need, what kind of vote do we go one person?
If there's, I would say if there's nobody else running, I win by acclamation. I think that's,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's perfect. I mean, that's normally what we do at our meetings, so. Okay, and then I'll entertain nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Najari.
I would like to know if Reza would like to.
What'd you say?
If you are the.
He's
willing
passing
to do
it
that,
on.
I would like you to do it.
Well, I could just
Yeah, I'll
say,
second that, yeah.
I feel that in absolute transparency, there's still more that I need to learn. Going in, and being involved in the Human Rights Commission, so I would like for Reza to, and if I could be the vice chair.
Wait,
Anybody
you're-
else is actually volunteer to do the vice chair?
you're turning it down?
I'm turning it down. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I'm hurt.
Don't be.
Come on, you're young. You're doing all this stuff in Richmond.
Can they share it?
You've got
We could have
so
two
much to give.
Co-chair, vice chair.
I can't talk you into it.
I think it's a good thing to do. Go for it. Because first of all, I was a vice chair. I basically did nothing. Although I'm kind of like involved,
I'll
but
tell you how you helped. You did help.
I did, but it's not too much of your time, and it's good to do that.
Yeah, but whenever I had a question, or I would run it by my
Of course,
vice chair.
yeah.
And we had full discussions,
Yeah.
and it was very helpful. He was helpful. And he brings you do. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, sometimes it's an issue. She will call you, ask questions, discuss things.
The agenda.
But it's not a full-time job. Don't be afraid of it.
I nominate you guys to co-chair the vice chair position.
Oh, that's a cute offer.
We could.
I would like for, my vote is for Reza to stay as vice chair. I'd like to see this as an opportunity to work with Reza some more. And we'll
That
see
means
where
you
that
can
goes.
lean on each other and filling it in for the other if they're not sure what to do. And
I'm gonna be leaning on Reza. Reza, what does this mean? What are we doing with this? What's going on? This just popped up in the agenda, and I want to get in touch with. If I can't get in touch with Vicky, I'm gonna be bothering Reza.
So you're comfortable doing it together?
Of course, why not? If he's
I don't know if we could put that on.
I'd love to. Yeah.
I don't need a card that says vice chair.
Be co-chair, two co-chairs. There's a co-chair. You have two.
Leave Reza as the vice chair. Who knows? In the upcoming years, by the time we do the next elections, I'll be ready to take on the chair or the vice chair, for that matter.
Okay,
That's good.
that seems great.
But I appreciate your enthusiasm and wanting, and
Well, I
moving
think you
forward.
have a lot to offer.
Thank you.
How about an alternate? Would you like to be alternate chair?
An alternate
Vice
chair.
chair, alternate vice chair. We're not gonna go down easy.
I don't need any more titles. I'm fine with commission
Okay.
for right now.
All right, we tried. Thank you, Materi.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there any other nomination for vice chair? All in favor of Reza as vice chair? Say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye, okay, it's aye. It's okay, thank you. Okay, I just remembered something from going back to my chair's report, and I forgot staff reports. Two. Okay, two things. I promised you Carol, this woman, the artist that works in San Quentin, and I've been trying to reach her, and she's not responding to my email, so I'm gonna try to reach out to her for our report. But I have a question. If she brings a presentation, will we be able to use that? How would that work?
Yes, I just have to know
In
beforehand so I can let the guys know I need equipment.
Okay, and
Whenever you have a presentation and that you would like,
You can put it on the TV here.
yeah.
Oh,
I just have to know
Okay.
to let the guys know they'll bring me a laptop.
Oh, excellent. Okay. And the other thing is I did try to get somebody from Urban Tilth because when Doria Robinson was working there, or she's still working there, it's her day job, I think, and she really wanted to come, and I know how busy she is. So I put out a call to Doria and to Urban Tilth. I called just to get somebody here. I still want them to come because they are doing phenomenal work in North Richmond. And I think it'd be so important to share that work with you all and whoever comes. It is my environmental art class had a section on North Richmond, and they went in depth. It is phenomenal. It is incredible. So, and this is an incredible thing that they are doing. It's a we there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's here, and we should be very proud of it and make everybody else proud of that too. So I've been trying, so I'm gonna try again. I don't give up.
If I could speak to that, you may want to talk to Adam Bover. He's the deputy director for Urban South,
Oh, perfect.
and may have more availability.
And what's his last name?
Bover is Boisvert. It's French.
Okay, great. That's good. So and staff reports. Do you have Megan's letter? Did Megan send you the letter that she wrote?
She didn't send it.
Okay.
I don't know if she sent it.
I asked her to send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to read the letter that we sent to the city clerk? Do you have it with you?
I do not have it.
Okay. I want to just say how much I appreciate this person here, to my left, named Charisse.
Hey.
She is helpful, kind, supportive, hard work. I can't say enough. And she
Knowledgeable.
blows me away. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you, Charisse.
Let's chat.
Yes.
All right.
And I need to tell you, I ran into the city clerk. I told the city clerk the same thing, and I told Eduardo. So the word is out.
Well, just before we leave the assistant chair, or what are we calling it? Vice chair. I don't think we want to get into the specifics, but Reza has had an amazing life experience as a political person in Iran that's beyond any of our experience, I should just say. I'm just so impressed with what he's lived through and how optimistic he still is and how hard he's working. So much I didn't know about that, and I've learned a little bit more, and just so impressed by you.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you.
I'm trying to find the
Maze, I
letter.
gotta take you. You drink coffee? I'd love to sit down and like just hear your
I
experience.
can go get a copy. You can continue with the meeting.
Oh,
I can just go
yeah.
get a copy.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Thank
an
you.
honor.
Okay, great. Charisse is going to get a copy of the letter. It's a brilliant letter that we worked on together. L2, letter to support Evan Gershovich. That's Jeff Ritterman. That's your item. Do you want to?
Well, I'm not sure what we should do, but, he's the journalist from the Wall Street Journal who's been a political prisoner in Russia. He's not a star basketball player, but he is a journalist, and it's really important that these journalists be released, and prisoner swap is fine, but he's he's being accused of being a spy, and I don't know if if it does any good to write a letter and send it to the city council or what we can do, but I just think it's so frustrating that somebody would just be picked up like that and his life be threatened. And I think it is in a pretty terrible Russian prison right now, and his life being threatened. So I don't know if there's, we should get other human rights commissions within the Bay Area to sign on a letter, or, if anyone has an idea, but, it must be very lonely there in that Russian prison.
Do you think do you think Gail McLaughlin would like to work on it? Or I could reach out to Melvin and ask him. And then I do know the head of the Peace and Justice Commission in Berkeley. They might have already done something. And maybe we could sign onto their letter if they might have already done something, actually.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot more ideas than I do, so
Okay.
if you want to pursue it with any of those people or ask Eduardo what he thinks, you know, but if there's something that we could instigate that would at least have us go on record, you know, that, you know, this is an awful thing and we really, you know, want to support this guy, you know.
How about if I work with you? I mean, I'll reach out to my people, I'll see what I come up with, I'll run it by you, and then maybe you and I will write a letter and maybe Gail will have some ideas too.
I think
No.
that would be great.
Okay, that's what I'll do. Okay, and she went to get the letter on the rights of the child. I actually talked to Eduardo recently about, he's the liaison from the council to the youth commission, and he wants to get the youth involved.
Yes,
work on
I
this.
saw him the other day at a Earth Day celebration, and we talked a little bit about that.
Good,
He told me that you were
yeah.
doing that
right, and so,
with him.
yeah, and I also reached out to the teachers union, and I've got names of 2 people in the district office that would probably agree to work with us and get us in the door. And because we're gonna have to figure out, like, do we need shots, do we have proof of vaccination, whatever, how long we're gonna be, are they gonna give us, how many hours, it's like blah, blah, blah. So I just wanna start making, and I don't know why they're not answering the phone. I didn't even call them, say I've sent emails, but I am, it's, you know, this is the thing. I work with, with the EEOC, the Employee Opportunity, Equal Opportunity Commission from Washington DC. And I'm actually dealing with people that have been abused and discriminated against and not treated with dignity and respect. And so here I think, I'm gonna go into Richmond schools, 3rd graders, and teach these kids that they're entitled to dignity and respect and they can express themselves, but I'm dealing with adults in Tonya, and it's a thing with me. It's like, why? And so I want to believe that I can go in front of a judge and argue effectively for these 3 adults. But I also want, because I want to prove to those kids on some level that these are not empty and meaningless words. This is, you have a right to express yourself. That is, you're by being born a human being, you have that right. So that's my latest. And Earth Day presentation, I was hoping to get Urban Tilth here. That was my contingency, and I will reach out to Adam. So, go ahead, Jeff.
I was looking at travel options. I'm looking at wanting to do some trips, and there's a civil rights trip to Atlanta, Montgomery, and I think it's Selma, and it goes to the Rosa Parks Museum, the King Monument, and hikes over the Pettus Bridge, where, you know, the famous was where John Lewis's skull was cracked. And I was wondering if we could have some kind of competition where kids would write an essay, you know, what civil rights and human rights means to me. We could, you know, figure out who, you know, would be the appropriate student and see if we could raise enough money to take a student or 2 and take them on such a trip and have them come back and, talk to the city council and their fellow students about that. Maybe even have them make a video presentation. It's not cheap to do such a thing. And I don't know where you apply for grants to do that, but it occurred to me that if you bring a student on such a trip, it would change them, the rest of their lives. I mean, John Lewis said, make good trouble, and he had a skull fracture there on the Pettus Bridge, and he lived the rest of his life, being a hero in American, culture. And I don't know how many terms he had in the Senate. When I was on the city council, we lobbied in Washington, and I ran into him, which was, it was like, wow, you meet a hero there, So it just occurred to me that, like you said, you like to aim high. If anyone has an idea of where we could go for funding and a grant to do such a thing, I think it would be such an up for, maybe take one student from each high school, have them write an essay and see, who would win the essay contest and, do such a thing. Is there a foundation that we could think of to apply? I'm not much of a grant writer myself, but maybe somebody is. Maybe we send somebody from this group with the students.
When is it?
Maybe we send, one of the co-assistant chairs. Maybe that changes their perspective. And the trips go, several times a year. I was looking to go, but it's, I'm on the waiting list. Imagine a student coming back with a picture of themselves in front of the Rosa Parks Museum to show, blow it up and put it in City Hall or something.
Or we could put the names of the winners out on if we have, I don't know how many winners on that.
Or maybe send them with a videographer and make a video of this and, show it on YouTube. I don't know. But just a thought.
Can I say something? I don't know if you guys are supporting going to the big corporation to get money for these things, but sometimes it does help a lot because these big corporations, they actually have a budget for these things. They set up a budget just for the youth, human rights, the human rights development, whatever. They have so many categories that they have money there, and they would love to attach their name at the end of the basic trip. I mean, like for example, Facebook, they may even make a big deal, the big support this group of kids, going to this event, and then make it a big deal for themselves too. But you don't have to write a big, basically grant type of letter. You just say, okay, this is what you're planning to do. These are the number of kids. How much this is the cost, and I would love to get basically funding for it. They do a lot of.
So
it's
who?
a simple letter. It's just a simple letter.
Should I make a suggestion? The Richmond Community Foundation would be a good resource to ask.
So that's Jim,
for
right?
grant- Yeah, Jim Becker.
Okay.
To ask if they have grant writing assistance. He used to conduct classes for the city. I'm sure I'm sure the foundation still conducts classes, or he may have access to a funding entity for you to pursue
Yeah.
and how to pursue it. But they're right here in
Yeah.
Richmond.
Oh,
What is
that's
it
good.
called, Richard?
The Richmond Community Foundation?
Or maybe the Rotary or something
Yeah,
like
the
that.
Rotary.
The Rotary Club.
So who do we ask in the city
The Rotary
state?
Club would be the former mayor, Tom Butts. He's, seems to be very involved with the Rotary Club. Jim Becker's the Richmond Community Foundation. There's another foundation, the East Bay Community Foundation, which is in Oakland, that has various funds that would support something like that.
I'd like to
Okay,
ask.
you're the leader.
Yeah.
She's flaming.
I'll work with you.
Okay, Mr. Ritterman, I'll work with you.
Great.
Yeah, that would be good. Or ask just these, the guys that, they bought the Hilltop Mall. What is it called, that company? They bought the Hilltop Mall.
Oh, I'd have to ask the,
Yeah,
the
and
city
they are,
manager's office.
yeah, they are very wealthy, basically, company, and they may want to say something good about, we are in now, and this is our contribution, the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
contribution.
You want to arrange a meeting with Jim to start?
Sure. No problem.
I did Jim also, so.
Excellent.
Prologis is the company, they're coming, yeah.
Okay.
They're
I mean, he may
multi-billion-dollar
already know
company.
of a program that's doing it.
Yeah,
I
right.
don't know.
We can make it happen here in Richmond and just open it up, maybe just have a contest and widely advertise where there's a contest and you write an essay and we could figure out, what I thought of? Having Cordell be one of the judges because he gives so much to the city. Just an idea. I kind of, and I'm sure, if Henry Clark was still alive, he would be my number one. Adore that man.
So the meeting is regarding information regarding grants available to send students to Washington DC.
No, to the Civil Rights.
It's
March.
actually in the south. It's Atlanta,
Okay.
Selma, and
It's the Civil
Birmingham.
Rights
When is the trip?
March.
So
Pardon?
They hit-
When is-
hit all the major
Well, they have
cities.
it throughout the year.
Oh, so it's multiple times?
I'm on the waiting list for October 1st.
Okay.
There was some I missed in September. It goes all year, So, probably we would have to do it next year to actually get on the list.
Mhm.
But we couldn't get it together before then anyway.
You never know.
An optimist.
If we could just get one billboard, one tiny billboard, and this thing going up next year, and the thing, and your two things, we're working, this is like, sometimes part of the end result is, this is kind of like chewing all the different ideas and throwing it out and bouncing it off each other. And it's like, that's what, I always say one brain's good, but two brains are better, and when you have 7 brains, that's even better. So, we got 7 here. So, this was the letter. Did y'all get a chance to read it? Want me to read it out loud, or what should I?
Okay.
I thought it was great.
The Human Rights and Human Relations Commission would like to share our deep concerns regarding having no option other than in-person commission meetings. During the pandemic period, the HRC made considerable efforts to recruit vibrant, motivated, and knowledgeable Richmond residents to the commission. We have one very active and vital commissioner that is currently studying at the University of California, San Diego, and participates via Zoom in our monthly meetings faithfully. Her contributions and informational materials over the past year and a half have increased our awareness, activism, and support for the disabled community immensely. It would be impossible for her to attend, in quotes, in-person commission meetings while at school. The stringent requirements would create a great loss for the commission and for our community. We're therefore respectfully requesting a dispensation to conduct hybrid HRC meetings to accommodate our commissioner, guest speakers, and the general public who are accustomed to participating via Zoom meetings. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration of our request and with kindness and solidarity. So that was the letter, and
Who wrote that letter?
both of us.
I thought it was AI. It's fantastic.
It was BS and CD.
Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, thank you. This is really
Well
good.
done.
Okay, so where are we on the agenda? So, there's nobody here for second open forum. I guess adjournment is in order. Any last words from the commissioners? We all have some homework, which is good.
It's interesting, some departments still do the remote work. Yeah, like for example, PUC, Public Utilities Commission, I was talking to some of my friends, and they said that they actually decided to go remote. Whoever wants to, actually close some of their offices. They close some of their offices. And now for these commissions, they're making it tough, you just make it, everybody has to come to the city.
I think our directive comes from the state, but I will double check. But I think it came from the state.
Oh, the state did it, yeah.
Okay. I also heard that in the past, before COVID, a commissioner could call in, and is that a possibility? I mean, I really think we should try the Zoom. I mean, the call-in was before we had the Zoom and everything, and if we're gonna have a call-in, might as well have Zoom. And then, because if they were on call-in, they wouldn't hear the presentation when we do have somebody, so.
I mean, it went to it went to the city clerk, it went to the mayor's office, and it went to the city council. So you will get a reply.
Hopefully the one we want.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And to Melanie Willis.
Right, okay, great. All right, so,
You're done?
yeah, I think we're done. I'll take a motion to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, see you guys in a month.
This is for Adam.
Oh, thank you,
You got it.
thank you. Excellent.
Great meeting.
Thank
You
Really good meeting.
you really did a great leadership part in it. I was really happy how we all participated.
Yes, we did. It's excellent. And,
We have 2 vacancies.
Thank you. I like your bracelet.